The 2025 NFL playoffs are finally here, and this feels like it's the most wide open playoff race we have maybe seen in a decade. And today I'm going to try to predict what's going to happen in this wide open race and give you guys my official 2025 NFL season playoff predictions. So what is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? I'm going to be throwing this into the NFL playoff predictor here from the Pro Football Network. I will leave a link to this down below if you guys want to make your playoff predictions going forward as well. So we know the playoff schedule. On Saturday, it is going to be the Carolina Panthers versus the LA Rams in Carolina, since they won the division in the first playoff game. And then we have the Bears and the Green Bay Packers on Saturday night. Sunday, we got Bills, Jags, we have Eagles, Niners, and then we have Patriots, Chargers. And then Monday night, we got my Pittsburgh Steelers, who are somehow yet again in the playoffs this year, going up against the elite Houston Texans defense. And we'll start off in the NFC. This is crazy, man, because I think the AFC is a little bit more wide open than the NFC, but it's just wild to see no Joe Burrow, which I guess we've kind of getting used to here in the AFC, no Lamar Jackson, and no Patrick Mahomes for the first time in almost a decade as well. Like, it was that 2018 season where he goes up against Tom Brady in the AFC Championship game, in which, yeah, shout out D Ford for that one. So we're going to start off with the Carolina Panthers and the Los Angeles Rams. As much as I would love to see Carolina pull off the upset, I just can't really pick against the Rams, who you can make an argument are the best team in the NFC, maybe the best team in the NFL. They might have the best quarterback in the NFL this year. That's for you to decide who their MVP is. They have two elite receivers in Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, who will be back for the Saturday game against the Carolina Panthers. I feel like the Panthers have somewhat overachieved this year in a way, at least on the defensive side of the field at times, and they go 8-9. They lose their last game of the season, but shout out to the three-way tiebreaker where Tampa beats them, but they don't get in because the Falcons ended up going 8-9 this year as well, where you have the three-team tiebreaker. Like I said, it's really cool to see Bryce Young and just the Carolina Panthers themselves back in the playoffs, but it's very tough for Dave Canales to go up against Sean McVay, who's been maybe the best coach in the NFL since he got hired by the Rams about a decade ago. He has Matthew Stafford. They're working at a top-tier level between the two. Puka Nacua is maybe the best playmaker in the NFL this year. You add in Jared Verse, you add in that front seven, a solid running attack with Kyron Williams and Blake Corum over the last few weeks. I would love for Carolina to keep this close, but I do think this could end up being the most lopsided game from the wild card window, just because I feel like the Carolina Panthers sometimes this year do not show up for 3.5 quarters. And if you're watching them against like the Arizona Cardinals earlier in the year, it just feels like it's too little too late, and that's why they do have 9 losses. They have the worst record out of anybody here in this playoff picture, and it's going to be maybe not a heavy Rams crowd there in Carolina, but I do think they get it done. It could end up being a weird one, right? It is that 4:30 window on Saturday, but I would also be not totally surprised if it was 17-3 at one point in this game. So now we'll go to the Sunday night game between the Bears and the Packers, and boy, oh boy, did the script writers cook with this one. We are getting the third installment of Bears-Packers this year. We've seen the Packers win one, we've seen the Bears win one, and both of them have been relatively good games. The Packers ended up beating Chicago on December 7th, 28-21, and then we had that thriller OT game where Chicago's offense really didn't get going till in that second half against Malik Willis, and they ended up winning that game, Chicago, in overtime as well, 22-16. I don't know, there's been some weird like Matt LaFleur rumors this year that if they don't make a run or if they don't win this game, he could be on the hot seat. I'm not really buying that whatsoever. I think it'd be very short-sighted of them to let go of Matt LaFleur. I know they are the kings of the 7 seed, cross-sport reference here, but it does feel like the Packers in the 7th seed with the expanded playoffs are basically maybe the Atlanta Hawks of the play-in tournament in the NBA. The Packers did beat the Cowboys a couple years ago as the 7th seed, and they ended up losing to the Eagles last year as a 7th seed in a close-ish game compared to what the Eagles were doing in the playoffs last year. I'm actually going to go with the upset in this one. I'm going to go with the experienced coach of Matt LaFleur versus the rookie head coach in Ben Johnson. The Bears did not have a good showing in Week 18, going up against the Detroit Lions and kind of coming out flat in that game as well, which was somewhat meaningful in a way. If they did lose that game, in which they did, and the Eagles won, which they didn't, they would have actually dropped to the 3 seed and would have ended up facing San Francisco. I'm not sure who you'd rather play. I'd probably rather play... I guess I'd rather play Green Bay in a way. It is tough between San Fran and Green Bay just because San Fran is a little bit banged up as well. But I'm going to have Green Bay pick up the road win in Chicago. And I feel like this game is just going to come down to the takeaways. I feel like the Bears are super dependent this year on takeaways, or their defense can just get beat and ripped apart, and we'll see how much Josh Jacobs can do against this defense as well. They're obviously going to want to control the time of possession. They're going to want to control the trenches in Green Bay, which isn't an easy task whatsoever, but it's definitely possible against this Bears defense and their front seven, which has been lacking as of late. So I'm going to go with the Packers to pick the upset. I have been seeing a lot of people picking the Packers, so this one makes me feel a little bit less good about it because everybody has the same idea. You know it's probably not going to happen. So I'm going to still stand by my gut, and I'm going to have the Packers beat the Bears. So I have right now all three upsets in the NFC wildcard round. That's going to change. I do have the Philadelphia Eagles defeating the San Francisco 49ers at home. Last time these two teams played in Philadelphia at the Link was that NFC Championship game a couple years ago where the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. They lost to the Chiefs, but they went up against Brock Purdy. They went up against Josh Johnson and a couple guys there in San Fran. That's where Brock Purdy ended up having the elbow injury. He had to undergo Tommy John surgery in a way, but I just think the Niners have been a fantastic story this year. I just said on this channel a couple weeks ago, I think Kyle Shanahan should be the coach of the year now. That was before their Week 18 game against Seattle. So if you give it to Mike McDonald for getting the 1 seed, or if you give it to Sean Payton or anybody like that, I'm fine with it. I think there's like 6 deserving head coach candidates this year for that coach of the year award. But I do feel like San Fran, although a great story, are maybe not anywhere close to Philadelphia. Like, this is another game that I could see being somewhat lopsided at the Link. We'll see how good the Eagles offense could be. We all know it's been underwhelming this year with Kevin Patullo. There has still been a really good Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown connection. Saquon Barkley last year still somehow felt like a playoff riser, even though he was so elite throughout the regular season. They're getting Lane Johnson back as well, which is so huge. And this Eagles secondary, their corners, their front seven might make Brock Purdy's life very difficult. Kyle Shanahan likes to go around the game script, and if they do not have the lead in the fourth quarter, statistically, they're basically cooked. It's going to be really tough to win in Philadelphia. I just don't think the Eagles are going to lose this game. I would be very shocked if they lost in the wild card round to the San Francisco 49ers, and they are 5.5 point favorites as well, so they think that, yeah, Philly's going to win by almost a touchdown or close to it, at least more than a field goal. So yeah, we're going to have Green Bay versus Seattle, Aaron Rodgers versus Russell Wilson. Those are the days. And then we have the Rams versus the Eagles in the divisional round. But let's go over here to the AFC side of things. We'll start off with the 4-5 matchup as well. My Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Houston Texans. The fact that the Steelers are hosting a playoff game blows my mind. For the first time since basically 2020, when they went up against the Cleveland Browns. That was the year that Ben Roethlisberger and the team kind of overachieved to like their 10-0 undefeated start. Then they lost to like the Washington football team. Felt like a Wednesday back then. Either way, the Steelers this year have been, I don't know if I want to say a great story. They go 10-7. Maybe they shouldn't be here if Tyler Loop just hits kind of like a chip shot field goal. It was tough for the rookie. We all saw that game last Sunday night. Mike Tomlin gets in. Aaron Rodgers gets in. What's hopefully for me, at least Aaron Rodgers last year in the NFL. I do think the Steelers, who are getting a little bit healthier, they are getting DK Metcalf back as well. Hopefully TJ Watt looks a little bit more recovered from that punctured lung he had a few weeks ago where he missed that game against the Cleveland Browns. He missed that game against the Detroit Lions. I do think the Steelers in a cold game against a domed team that can have a lackluster offense at times can be in their favor. I haven't seen the Steelers win a playoff game since 2017, the 2016 playoffs against Matt Moore and the Miami Dolphins and the Kansas City Chiefs, where nobody scored a touchdown in that game, basically. I'm going to have the Texans win. Their defense is just too good with Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter and Jalen Petre and Derek Stingley. Like, this team is going to make Aaron Rodgers' life maybe like a living hell now. Aaron Rodgers likes to get the ball quick. It's going to be massive for them that they get back DK Metcalf. I hope they utilize Pat Freiermuth a ton. They have maybe the best running back duo in the league this year. Like, it might be objectively the best duo when you're talking about Kenneth Gainwell, who's the Steelers team MVP this year, and Jaylen Warren. As much as I want to be biased here, as much as I want to take my Steelers to beat the Texans at home, which I could definitely see, and this is me trying to do a reverse jinx where, you know what, I look right if the Steelers lose, but I want the Steelers to win, obviously. I just think the Texans, who people didn't really love against like the Chargers last year, they beat them. Some people didn't like the Texans against the Browns 2 years ago. They beat them. D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud, I mean, historically have been good for one playoff win so far, and I do think they end up beating the Steelers on the road. They got off to a slow start this year, and they've had a phenomenal remaining like 8 weeks of the season where the offense is coming alive as well. Still trying to figure out that rushing attack. We'll see how the passing attack looks as well. I mean, what can go in the Steelers' favor if it's just freezing cold out there, maybe some snow, who knows? Probably not going to get that. Either way, the Steelers need it to be windy. They need it to be cold. They need Chris Boswell to be back on his A game, but I think the Texans are going to end up beating the Steelers. Now we have the Bills versus the Jaguars. I mean, throughout the regular season, the Jaguars have looked better than the Buffalo Bills. This spread is slightly in favor for Buffalo at 1.5. I mean, if you guys saw a short I made on the channel recently, I did talk about how I think the Buffalo Bills can go far in the playoffs just because there's no Lamar, there's no Patrick Mahomes this year. I mean, the weapons of Josh Allen have not been great out wide. Obviously, James Cook is arguably the best running back in the league this year, given that he won the rushing title. The Bills' offensive line is good. Their defensive line, not great. Secondary, very inconsistent, and that's where Liam Cohen can open up the passing attack. If this game was in Buffalo, obviously I would be on the Bills so much more with Cohen and T-Law going to the cold. But this game is in Jacksonville, which I think can make it very close, and that's probably why the spread's at 1.5. Obviously, the Jags are at home. They have that underdog mentality. It feels like somewhat the Jags have kind of overachieved this year as well, at least on offense, with Brian Thomas Jr. taking a step back, Travis Hunter being out for most of the year. I mean, shout out to Parker Washington, shout out to Liam Cohen, obviously. I'm still going to take Buffalo. I would be absolutely shocked if this team loses in the wild card round, with Josh Allen still playing, not at an MVP level like he's had in years past this year, but still at a very high level, who hopefully can show to everybody that he's a playoff riser on national television. And Sean McDermott kind of coaching for his job as well. I do feel like if the Bills lose this game, Sean McDermott will be fired as well, and that is definitely possible. And now we have the New England Patriots, the 2 seed, going up against the 7-seeded Chargers. I'm taking the Pats in this one. This one was a little bit more easy for me, in my opinion. When you look at the spread of this game as well, it's favoring the Pats at about 3.5 at home in Foxborough. Their first home playoff game in a little bit. Their first home playoff game in the Vrabel era, in the Drake May era as well. Yes, Drake May hasn't had the hardest schedule in the world. I think they match up very well against the Chargers, who still don't have any offensive tackle play, and I think they've also done a nice job with the Alt injury and the Slater injury to kind of stay afloat this year. It's because Justin Herbert has just been an absolute gamer, playing through injuries, a revolving door of running backs, even like Ladd McConkey not really being like a number one this year, but having Quinn Johnston, having Gadsden earlier in the year, having Keenan Allen, having Trey Harris, a rookie, kind of show up in spurts this season. The secondary can still be really good. Like Tariq still going up against Stephon Diggs is going to be a sight to see. I do think the Pats end up getting it done, which is now going to only, unfortunately, further the Justin Herbert narrative going forward, which is crazy. So we have 1 and 2 in the AFC, 5 and 6. We have 5 and 7 and 1 and 3. So we'll go back to the NFC here for the divisional round. We have the Seahawks versus the Packers. I think the Seahawks winning, maybe shades of the Niners versus the Packers a couple years ago after the Packers beat the Cowboys. The Seahawks are going, and if they don't turn the ball over, they're going to be just fine. I think they also can make an argument for the best running back duo in the league right now, the way they've been playing over the last few weeks in Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. I love AJ Barner as a tight end. I said before how Puka could be the best playmaker in the league. Like JSN is right up there. He can be the best playmaker. Obviously had the most receiving yards this year. Mike McDonald knows what to do with this defense. That is one of the best defenses in the league. It's number 1 in DVOA this year. Their secondary is unreal. The defensive line and offensive line so much more improved from last year. Still 10-win season. John Schneider might end up winning Executive of the Year as well. I think they get it done. The 12th man back on their side, and they are going to win and beat the Packers, who I do think make it somewhat close just because Sam Darnold has looked dicey over these last few weeks. We've never seen Sam Darnold win a playoff game before. Last year was the first time we really saw him in a big moment. Kind of crumbled a little bit against the Rams in the wild card weekend. I'm going to have Seattle, though, and Sam Darnold pick up a huge win. And they're going to be going up against their division rival, the Rams, in the NFC Championship game. This one, I feel way less confident about because the Eagles can easily beat the Rams like they did last year in the playoffs in that snow game, and like they did earlier this year in the regular season where they had that really good second half comeback. I just feel like, oh man, at the link in the cold, Puka and Devontae versus DeJean and Quinion Mitchell. It is going to be cinema yet again. I just think the Rams defense can match up super well with the Eagles defense in a way, and they are going to make Jalen Hurts' life just that much more difficult. Like, I think the Niners' key is also making Hurts' life more difficult as well, allowing Hurts or letting Hurts try to be more risky with the ball, because Hurts does not want to turn the ball over whatsoever. He obviously did that a ton against the Chargers, so you want to bait Hurts into his throws, into his progression reads. Just the Niners have so many injuries this year, and I like the Rams' overall team defense a lot more as well, and I think their offense can go toe-to-toe in the cold. We saw them go toe-to-toe with them last year in the cold, in the snow. We'll see how those conditions are in a couple weeks when this game theoretically happens, but I do have the Rams beating the Eagles. I just think the Rams are a lot better this year than they were last year, and they almost beat the Eagles, and I think the Eagles are slightly worse than they were last year as well, with obviously the departures to like Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, Kellen Moore going forward. So yeah, NFC West Championship game, how about that? Now over here in the AFC, an easier one. Oh man, this is tough as well. Like, I go back and forth with these in my head. Pats versus Texans. I think there is going to be like a welcome to the playoffs moment for Drake May. And obviously, in a good way, it's this game getting your first playoff win. I think it's going to be a little bit of a different beast. I think obviously going to Pittsburgh and going to Acrisure in January is going to make this Texans defense ready for New England the following week. And I do think CJ Stroud can be serviceable enough against this Patriots defense, which is a solid defense. It's not elite by any means in a way in which D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caley can show up and pull off an upset on the road. I just worry a little bit about the Texans rushing attack as well. Like, how can they get the ground game going in the cold as well when maybe they're not going to test a Carlton Davis or a Christian Gonzalez in that secondary as well. I go back and forth on this one, but I'm going to go with the Texans. This one I go back and forth as well, because if it was Bills, Patriots somehow, which I think could happen if the Steelers beat the Texans, right? No, that would not happen. Obviously, you would need basically the Chargers to go up against the Broncos. Like, I would easily have this as my AFC Championship game if they were on the other side of the brackets. I think going to Mile High, or whatever it's called now, in January with that elevation and that cold against that defense and how they can ground and pound against you and how Sean Payton can game plan this offense against you, it's a nightmare. But if it's not now, when is it for Josh Allen and this Bills team? Like I said, I don't think this is the best Bills team we've seen over the last few years. That can go to last year's team. That can go to 2-3 years ago. I think they get their win, man. I think we are going to see a year in which, oh man, it's just like, can I trust Bo Nix in the playoffs? Last year, the Bills dominated them in Buffalo, wild card round. This Broncos team, adding so many guys in the offseason on the defensive side of the field, the offensive line being improved as well. Like, shout out to Garrett Bowles, who could win Protector of the Year. I'm going to go with the Bills, though. Josh Allen, big moment here. If not now, when? It's just like, statistically, I think the Broncos are a better team. I'm just trying to predict what's going to happen. And now I'm trying to predict what's happening in 2 weeks. Like, I have no idea. What if James Cook gets injured in this game? Or what if, I don't know, the Broncos just come out? Like, you can't really fully predict what's going to happen. Might be game of the playoffs right here, Broncos and Bills. It's going to be cinema for sure. And then we have Rams, Seahawks, Bills, Texans. Bills are in the Super Bowl. I mean, if I have Josh Allen beating Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, Bo Nix in Denver, I think they're going to beat CJ Stroud in Houston in a dome. So obviously, this is 2 out of 3 games in warm weather for Buffalo. I don't know if that helps them or hurts them. Either way, I do think they can match up well against the Texans defense, and that's why I have them going to the championship game, because I think Stroud can show up in the playoffs. He doesn't have to go up against Baltimore or Kansas City like he has in the last 2 years. So I think there is a path for Houston to definitely beat Aaron Rodgers and beat Drake May in his second career playoff game, if it would be in the divisional round, to go to the championship game. I think the Bills can outmatch them a little bit offensively. It's just where you can trust Josh Allen to make some plays against the best defense, or arguably the best defense in the NFL. It will battle test them going to Mile High the week before, where I think he can make them a little bit ready going to Houston in the championship game. And then Rams, Seahawks. I think this is the last dance maybe from Matt Stafford. I'm sure he would be back next year, but I do think we can go to a little bit of like a 2021 season-esque between the Bills and the Rams. Or is that the 2020 season? 2021 season? Or 2020 season, right? Nope, 2021 season. I'm in my own head. But yeah, we're going to have the Rams go back to the Super Bowl with arguably the best coach in the league, arguably the best quarterback this year, him or Drake May statistically, going up against maybe the best quarterback in the league overall in Josh Allen. If not now, when? And that's why I do have the Bills winning the Super Bowl. They could literally lose this Sunday to the Jaguars, and I look like a complete idiot that I have a team that's going to lose in the wild card weekend win the Super Bowl, a 6 seed. But that's what I have, man. Like I said, if not now, when? No Lamar, no Burrow, no Mahomes. This might be McDermott's last dance if he can't even get to the championship game, let alone the Super Bowl. But I do have the Bills making it through. Do I think they're the best team here? No. And we usually see a 1 or a 2 seed go to the Super Bowl for the most part, or win it all. Yeah, we have upsets here and there, but that's kind of what it's been in years past, especially with the 1 week bye. I mean, last year, we saw the Eagles as a 2 seed make it, go up against the Packers, the Lions lose in the championship, or excuse me, in the divisional round, and in the AFC, it's always been the Chiefs, basically, but I have the Bills. I have a feeling I'm going to look like an idiot here, and I'm being too high on the storyline of Josh Allen, because the Bills clearly have their flaws, but they know how to play in big-time games as well. They're the most experienced team here that we've talked about in the AFC, and it would be a thriller because they've had some great regular season matchups in the past, Buffalo and LA, and I have them in a thriller Super Bowl over the Rams, and that is my 2025 NFL Super Bowl prediction. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, I'd appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. Let me know your conference championship predictions and your Super Bowl prediction down below. Do you think my Steelers can beat the Texans? Do you think I'm way too high on the Bills? Probably. Do you think the Eagles can repeat? Let me know down below. Hope you guys did enjoy. Subscribe for more content like this. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.